planning. About being booed in Parliament, Wandeto, I think what you can do, if someone is booing you, you can boo them back or you can answer them back. That's your right. Don't feel like you're not good enough against the ones that are booing you. In Parliament, the majority have their way, but the minority have their say. And that goes into a permanent record. If you don't agree with policy, just give your why you differ from the opinion of the majority. And then if we support the multi-agency collaboration on matters corruption, especially some, and I want to first give ourselves as Kenyans an opportunity to change issues of corruption. Can Kenyans today say, I'm not going to bribe a traffic cop, so that we reduce the accidents on the road? Just that decision alone. Simple, appearing very easy. Some, during this Christmas holiday, pay courtesy to other drivers. Just do the simple things that boomerang. Let me say this. Sam, first let's do what we are able to do.
No.
And I agree, even for government officials.
Because when a political class raises millions of shillings and you're saying that they have the capacity to raise money. What is the value of transparency in that? Because you're not just anybody, you're a state officer.
But you can disclose if you're fundraising. If I'm fundraising for a building of a church, I'm a church person. I have 1,000 churches requesting me to fundraise. I can't even meet the demand. But I'm able to disclose. Wandeto give me 5,000. Sam give me 10,000. The point is, what is your fundraising for and where are you taking that money? Because once you deal with public resources, it's important for you to be accountable. Even at a church setup. Let's say I have received 20,000 from Veronica, 10,000. That's how we are building this sanctuary. For me, fundraising, it's the how we do it. It's the how we do it. But we know in Kenya right now, Sam, for instance, I have a request from a family whose home was burnt down and they're in one single, very simple shack of a room where they need. And I will fundraise from people and ask them, give me 10, give me 20. That's our model, which you should better and give it an accountability platform. But the pressure that comes to the politicians, and it's something that Wandeto has spoken about, the faster we have a framework for that Harambe and fundraising and campaign financing, the better it is for everybody. You know why, Sam? Because when it's demanded of me from my county to almost have some income, you know, some cash flow in the tune of 5 million, 6 million shillings, and my salary doesn't even get to that amount, what then are the people telling me? To find ways and routes of making that money? I think we need to become realistic and very practical. We better tame campaign financing. We tame the Harambe and how it gets to be done by everybody. And then for the public, we ease off the demand from our leaders. And those are the conversations we must have on the simple things that are going wrong and driving other parameters to the south direction.
Thank you so much, Senator, because I think now you've addressed the question here. Only that we hope.
At least we have a congruence of ideas.
Yes.
Can I have a quick right of reply to the Senator? Senator, when I talk about Singapore and the fact that Singapore had a formula, I think I'm trying to allude to the fact that we cannot be selective about which part of Singapore we want to implement. No. And when I talk about Singapore, I'm not saying don't dream. But when you sit where you sit, you have to take our dreams, our visions as Kenyans, translate them into reality. And that's why you're a leader, right?
Exactly.
Because we expect from you that you will take our dreams. Our dreams are very simple. My dream is that when I go through university and I finish, I get a job. My dream is that when I fall sick and I walk into the county hospital in Murang'a, I get more than Panadol. My dream is that I'm safe and that I'm secure. So you are supposed to figure out the how part. How are we getting there? And this is a discussion that we're having now. That means that you have to plan realistically. Numbers for me are very critical. You have to budget, just like when you have a house, and you know that in my house, my salary is 10,000 shillings. What we're doing in Kenya today is we have a house, you know that you're earning 10,000 shillings. We budget in our households. So you decide my budget for the household will be 14,000. that means you have a deficit. You don't have 4,000. You have to get the 4,000 from somewhere. That's the reality we're in Kenya today. So as opposed to sitting down and saying, how are we going to, could we maybe reduce the budget? What are we doing with it? Because
so
it's not bad.
Just
1 second. It is not bad to say my budget is 14,000. The question is, this 4,000 that you're having here, what is it for? If you go back and look at the budget, what percentage, even in last year's budget, was being spent on development alone? What percentage? It is below a country that is supposed to be developing. Where is the bulk of this money going to? Recurrent expenditure, paying wages, fine. How many people sit to earn salaries? Take the national government, for example. It's 2%, less than 2%. So less than 2% are getting... So my point is, when you look at budgeting, and you look at the numbers, we are saying, let's plan, let's think about it. And the other issue that is going to become a disaster is we can sit here and we're discussing infrastructure, but I always say good economic planning, a good economy is an economy that you will feel. You will not have to explain to somebody what you're building or what it's for. You will have 200 shillings at least in a day to buy your meal. You will not be struggling with that. You will be able to go to the hospital and say, I'm a diabetic, I need some insulin. You feel a good economy. And how do you feel it? You feel it because you're also looking at micro indicators, right? You're thinking about, how do I make sure that there is purchasing power? How do I make sure that my people can afford basic needs? So as long as we are not tackling this in a kind of a dual system where we are handling governance, corruption, and the rest of them, we are handling the low level and the high level, then we'll end up having a population that, I give this analogy that you're sitting in a beautiful dining, the silver is nice, the plates are made of gold, but there's no food at the table. And that's going to be a problem. So you have to do a bit of dual. You dream, you give us the big ambition where we are going, that we had Vision 2030, that is your role and that is fine. But we also bring it back to reality and think about how are we going to actually execute this.
And this is where the fund comes in.
Sorry, before you go at it, Senator, Mheshimiwa Ndeto, so then there's this reality, and we try to execute this question on several occasions on this platform, that yes, it is important to go that direction.
Yes.
Look for funds so that commercially viable projects are taken care of by that fund. But then what that means is that for every road, for every power project, for every water project, the consumers must pay for it.
Exactly.
Perhaps at a premium.
Yeah.
We are tolling our roads.
Exactly.
What does that do to the equality of access to service, knowing that there are people that may not use the expressway, but they'll need the road below? How do we make sure that these services continue to be accessible to the larger public?
Sam, that's a very good question. And maybe just before I get a bite at it, let me just come back to Senator Veronica and the president's ability to raise funds. The youth would tell Senator that I'm a bant, I'm a choma, because the last person who should be receiving funds, whether from private companies or from individuals or from anywhere, for purposes of giving out in Harambes, should be the president. And I really hope that the money he donates is not coming from collections, because the only reason someone would give the president some money is in exchange for a favor. Okay? And you know that is called corruption. So I really hope that that money does not come from that.
I don't agree with that.
I'm just trying to correct Senator Maina. If the president was fundraising, for charity, then maybe we should have expected him to have a registered charitable organization, and maybe this is the one that would be doing all this charity work that he's doing. So I think I'm just trying to correct Senator that should be the last thing even the president can engage on, and we really hope that none of that happens. She could not explain where the money comes from.
I've said you called the president an interview.
Yes. Let me just
that I have offered, but I've also said, because it's important also to understand my perspective, I have also said he does have capacity to sign up, and he signs up. He has capacity to fundraise for projects, and he can and he should.
You also said that public officers should disclose the source of money they give to charity.
So I'm just trying to collect.
It's okay to disclose.
I'm just trying to collect my friend Senator that the statements he has uttered here are very, very serious. Maybe they can be used.
He's not understanding.
They can be used against us.
Make his point.
Yes, they can be used against us. But anyway, let us try and move this forward. So, Sam, from where we are, as a country, and if we want to achieve, this Singapore movement that we are talking about, or the Norway movement, or whatever movement that we are talking about, I think it's very, very important, like we have said, before, that we create strong institutions that can be able to guide and govern ourselves.
You're missing my question. I asked you about what do we do to ensure that those people that cannot afford to pay for toll fees,
yes,
they're able to access this.
I'm slowly coming to that. But if you want me to go direct to your question, we need to be careful not to create an economy we need to be careful not to create two economies. The economy for the haves and the economy for the have-nots. All countries that have succeeded, especially China is a very good example, where it's rumored that, it's said that in the last 30 years, China has lifted 300 million people from the below the poverty line to, to above. If we were to do that, I would support what Sheila is saying. Yeah? And she makes a very good analogy about the golden plates and no food. In this country, let us be careful. Infrastructure is very, very good, but the economists will tell you that as much as we all believed in the classical economic theories of the 80s and 90s about the trickle-down economic model, it's also been challenged. Most of the countries hoped that by having these mega infrastructure projects, airports, big roads, ports, and things like that, somehow that benefit trickles down to the people. But the newer economic models are showing that you have to do both. You have to allow trickle down, but you also have to make some affirmative action plans to push the bottom of the pyramid masses out of poverty. How do you do this? Very, very simple things. And I go back to Kenyatta when we got independence. He focused on three things: poverty, ignorance, and disease. We should be asking ourselves, 62 years after independence, how are we doing on these basic parameters? Let's talk about disease. Today, Sam, as we speak, and I just told you off camera that a week and a half ago, I had a huge medical camp in Tetu, which, by the way, was graciously, also supported by Royal Media Services, for which I'm very, very grateful. And
Thanks for disclosing.
Yeah? Sorry?
Thanks for disclosing.
Yes.
Can he disclose his source of support for the medical camp?
We formally write to...
You know what I mean?
It's true, and I can show you letters. We formally write to hundreds of organizations.
That's
formally. Formally.
Sam,
okay, Veronica,
easy.
Veronica, I did not receive...
And you could have asked me, I would have supported still.
Yes. So allow me to move on. And in this medical camp, we registered a total of 5,103 people, because, we work with the primary healthcare providers, so they collect the primary healthcare data. And one of the things I noted in that medical camp is the testimonies that I got. And by the way, I got people not just from Tetu, I got people from Laikipia, Nyandarua, Embu, Muranga, and even Ruiru. And all these people are telling me, some of them will tell me I'm diabetic, but I'm not being able to collect my medicine the last 2 months because it's not available in hospitals. Then I can, some are hypertensive. Others told me, you know what, I require some little minor procedure, but when I go to SHA, I am asked to pay a whole year upfront. Me and you, Sam, and Veronica and Sheila here, who are possibly on payroll, we pay for our SHA monthly. The sickly old people out there in the population are being asked to pay annually. So it shows that this whole thing about even healthcare, we have not gotten it right. It is easy to say that, I don't know, the SHA benefits for surgery or whatever are higher. But if drugs and other basic commodities like insulin are not available in our county hospitals, then we have missed the point. So we are still falling short on disease. Let's talk about poverty. Yeah, because remember, it was poverty, ignorance, and disease. Are Kenyans better off or poorer 63 years after independence? The average Kenyan out there is actually even struggling more. Families are struggling, to put, food on the table, because we have been unable, first of all, to create these important Singapore movements. If it is about revitalizing our agriculture, Sam, just 2 years ago when we were selling people sand and stones, in the name of fertilizer. So, that's not a Singapore movement. If it is about, lifting our people out of poverty, there are so many things that we are missing. Even our education system. Look at the drop in capitation that is going to happen from this January. That's not a Singapore movement. So what I'm trying to say is that Singapore will not happen one day. It's a journey. So how do we create Singapore movements along the way? When many youths are killed on the street, that's not a Singapore movement. When capitation is dropped, that's not a Singapore movement. When people boo each other in church, like what we saw in Kiambu over the weekend, that's not a Singapore movement. When you tear gas children at Kariobangi, having their Sunday school service, that's not a Singapore movement. All these things that we are seeing, they do not speak to us as a country being able to move forward. So how do we create an economy for these bottom of the pyramid people so that as they enjoy the expressway and the roads, it will not just be for them to see, it will be for them to be able to actually be able to afford a fare, be able to afford the ability to get into that SGR train from Malaba to Mombasa. But when you create an economy for the haves, then actually we'll even have a much more shrinked economy. So trickle down, but also a little bit of supporting the bottom of the pyramid, customer with proper, citizens with proper economic interventions to lift them out of poverty.
Okay. Well, remember the mantra is bottom up.
I think he struggled to avoid saying that.
It meant very many things.
He's an MP. He's a UDA MP.
Yes, he is a UDA MP.
He's one
and this is my de facto Secretary General.
Who successfully sold the model of bottom-up economic transformation. And he should be very proud of that.
Proud.
That's the one that buoyed him into Parliament.
All right.
By the way. And he still subscribes to it.
I look at feedback. Citizen Civic Kenya. We could hashtag to use the Citizen Debrick. Geoffrey Moita, corruption is theft. It's the magnitude that matters. In Kenya, organized corruption and theft are the order of the day within the executive and the legislature, involving very senior individuals who are untouchable. The SEC won't touch these cases. Fear. Keep your gun. The president keeps talking about transforming into a first world country like Singapore, but I haven't seen his efforts in tackling corruption. Establishment of infrastructure fund without a clear framework will be just a conduit for looting of public resources. Engineer Lazaro Kanyambok, the executive must first of all show goodwill in the fight against graft. Otherwise, the so-called roadmap to Singapore projections will remain nothing more than campaign gimmicks and wild dreams. Not wild, but wild. African pundit, getting to heaven is basically about being holy. Getting to Singapore is about being corruption-free. The rest will fall into place. I feel we still have a long way to go. Then Geoffrey Moita, our politics and campaigns are very expensive and keep increasing, and that is why mega corruption has to happen about the election periods to raise money for voter bribery, choppers, convoys, fuel, among others. And Alois Gikara, listening to Veronica makes me sad, okay? Does she know that her mandate as a senator is to make laws that work for citizens? We don't need fundraisers. We need systems that work. Today, medical bills are unsustainable for most people. When we have fire disasters, there is a disaster fund. Okay, thank you so much, Alois, for that. Now, we have just about 9 minutes, and I want us to use them in this format. So we're coming to the end of the year. I think we won't have another show on a Tuesday until 2026. Perhaps we conclude by you highlighting some of your major issues that you've seen in the year 2025, and especially touching on governance and what we must change come 2026. Who wants to go first?
I could, because he's for class. Yeah. Let me first say, you asked about how we can make services available and, easily accessible to everybody because of your concern on the toll roads. I want to say that South Africa is one of the most advanced countries in Africa. And South Africa has an extensive toll road network covering their major highways, N1, N2, N3, And if you look at countries that are developed, working towards that Singapore moment and Singapore dream, it's important that if you have toll roads, you still maintain a network of road which is happening so that you ease the congestion on the main highways. And for those who could afford on the toll road, you could still allow them to use the toll roads. It's a way of developing. You find it even in California, in the Orange County. And we must keep looking up to the countries that have made it so that we can make it. For me, governance issues this year, I'm very happy to see the housing projects, the affordable housing coming up, the markets being completed, road networks being built, because government is about offering service to the people. I am sad to see people going to hospitals without medication, and I would join Honorable Wandeto to say, let governors rise to the moment, ensure that if you can't provide anything else in that county, sort out the healthcare provision, sort out primary basic health care. That is your bidding towards your service to the people within the counties. And finally, as we approach Christmas season, I want to request all drivers in Kenya, please pay courtesy to the rest of the drivers. Don't overspeed. Drinking and driving should be out of bounds. And I'm looking forward to the smart licensing, which reduces the points on drivers, the driver's license, so that if you're too dangerous, you need to stop driving. And if you know you're a careless driver, it's not fair to kill 16 people, have a number of people dying on road accidents. So this holiday, let's be very careful on the roads and purpose not to cause an accident. Right. Pay courtesy, let the traffic be controlled, obey the traffic rules. Yeah.
Interesting that you raised the point about smart licensing. That's a whole conversation on it.
That's another one, yeah.
I think that's for 2026.
2026,
but Mheshimiwa Wandeto, your take?
Yeah, I think for me, 2025 was a very consequential year in this country. And I think the events that come to mind, first of all, was the loss of Baba, an important guardrail in this country in the fight on corruption and the fight for good governance. So we've lost a very important person. And we really hope that God will raise for us other Babas. Another Baba or other Babas, people who will stand with the people who can continue questioning the government, because those voices, as we have just said in this show, are increasingly getting silenced. The other consequential issue for me was the Sabasaba and the Sabasaba unrest and the issues around the commemoration of the 2024 Gen Z uprising. And again, we needlessly lost another 150 lives, which just shows you that, again, we are very, very far from the Singapore movements that we are trying to create. I'll keep going back to that. Another consequential issue for me was the recent by-elections. And going back to Malava and Ambere, whereby, like I was in Bere, and I saw a victory being snatched right in front of our eyes through violence, through intimidation, through violence, through intimidation.
You don't know what people say?
Yeah, but they can take it to court,
I hope Veronica can, just for once, I know we are good friends, but I hope for once you can just allow me to just say something. And this is a serious pointer, Sam, to what we may expect in the next 2 years. We've just sworn in a new IEBC, and we're hoping that the new IEBC would inspire confidence to us that it is able to manage the 2027 by-election, but I mean main election, general election, that is, and just the inability to fully manage, the by-elections that we just had last month was indeed very, very sad. We saw the participation, like I said earlier in this show, of cabinet secretaries or principal secretaries in politics, again, which is wrong. The last one is the continued promises by the president, which is what we have partly talked about here. I think it's been a year of promises, and I hope the technocrats like Shira or the economists are trying to keep account. I don't know how many promises have been done this year, but I would imagine they're in their thousands. So are we following our promises with concrete policy action, with concrete whatever? Otherwise, the reason a lot of Kenyans are distrusting this government, the reason a lot of Kenyans are feeling the way they feel today, is that they cannot really connect what they hear and what they see. So how do we, going forward, marry promise and action? Because there isn't as much happening on the ground compared to what is happening. And the last one for me, Sam, just to echo Veronica, is the needless loss of lives on our roads. There is something that I think we don't even highlight enough. It's like news of 10 people dying on a road accident have become normal.
So
have become normal. Actually, I hope you know we've lost more people on the roads than in protest or things like that. And these are lives where, in a lot of instances, needed not have been lost. And the response from the government has, in most cases, just been, mute. 10 people dying, even the minister will not see the need to, the need to comment. So how do we next year try to rein in on road accidents so that we can be able to save more lives? There's a lot of damage, happening from this. And we pass our condolences to the families that are grieving. And lastly, Sam, is to wish our viewers, including yourself, a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. You have been an amazing host to this show. You continue to advance our democracy. You continue to advance our governance. And maybe no one has ever cheered you publicly. Allow me to cheer you here on this show.
It's a big
that you are doing a very, very good job, not just you, but the entire RMS crew, keeping the country true and continuing to advance and calling us out. And these are Singapore moments for us.
Okay. Really now? Sheila, have the final word.
Sam, if I hear Singapore one more time.
Sheila seems to have a problem with Singapore.
No, it's because my master's thesis, Sam, was on the BRICS and how they develop these countries and trying to look at South-South. So maybe I know too much. That's why I get a bit frustrated when it's being selectively implemented. But anyway, Sam, I think mine is first to try to start off on a very positive note. We have a beautiful country. We have incredible resources. We have some of the smartest people on the continent as it stands, and in the world even. Let us put Kenya first. Let us think about Kenya, the future of Kenya, and everything that we try to work for within Kenya. All this back and forth you see us discussing, it is all very much in good faith. It is because we love this country. Personally, I love this country so much. So when you see me getting frustrated and calling out how it needs to be or what is not done right, it is simply coming from the place that we love this country and we cannot watch it go the wrong direction, or we cannot watch good ideas just be put aside because of political reasons. Let us try. My hope in the next year is to try and have an issue-based objective conversations at all times. Right. Let us deprioritize politics and then prioritize development and other conversations that we can actually have in a very objective manner. Kenyans are risking getting tired of politics, and you can see with voter apathy and the rest of them. These are some very key lessons that we learned up until now. You cannot be on a campaign trail from the minute you get elected until the next campaign cycle. That's one thing I'm learning. Otherwise, you'll risk having a population that is simply exhausted from all the politicking back and forth. So let us give ourselves some grace. Let us give ourselves some time to, rest a little bit from all of this, and so we can come back engaged and rejuvenated the next time. Finally, Sam, it's going to be about the economy. It is about the economy. And if we don't find a way of having systemic change, not standing up on a podium and giving, X amount of money, but really fixing our healthcare sector, our education sector, our alarming youth unemployment rate, if we do not figure these things out, we are wasting a lot of time. There's a new brand of economics, as we are discussing. Before, it used to be the old style of trickle-down. By the time I was going to school, we were being taught about social economy. Why? Because there was lessons that were learned. So let's not just look at our neighbors and say we are going to implement America into Kenya, or we're going to implement Singapore into Kenya. We are not those places. We can be inspired by them. We can get ideas by them. Then we get Kenyan solutions for Kenyan problems. We figure out how those children will go to school, how we'll get medicine, how we're going to make sure that mothers are not delivering babies on the floor anymore in this country. How are we going to make sure that our university students are not halted for 2 months and they're sitting at home? How do we make sure that we are increasing our purchasing power, and that we're making sure that all Kenya is benefiting, all Kenyans are benefiting, and that the 7 million people that just fell into the poverty index, you saw the report that came out from, how do we make sure that we stop that bleeding and that we uplift each other so everybody can have integrity and a decent life?
All right.
Other than that, Merry Christmas to all the Kenyans, especially to young people. We are doing it, we are killing it. Don't let the political class discourage you. We are more than them, I always tell them. We are ending the year at 75% of the population strong. So please, political class, you listen to us. To Kiamua, there's nowhere you'll go. That's those bills you want to pass.
That's enough, Senator, please. Okay.
Kenyans
Since you're
with the Singapore,
say that.
invite him,
Thank you, Senator.
but he means well. That's why he's bringing forth the Singapore moment.
Okay.
And now we need to support
I think
him,
intentions,
so
the Constitution taught us very well. Intentions is not something we go by. Let's have checks and balances and objective conversations.
All right.
Not what you mean.
I think you guys are not ready to end the year, but we have to end the show. And Article 10 of the Constitution talks about national values and principles of governance. Just to quickly look at the national values and principles of governance include patriotism, national unity, sharing and devolution of power, the rule of law, democracy, and participation of the people. That's what this show has been about, participation of the people. Human dignity, equity, social justice, inclusiveness, equality, human rights, non-discrimination, and protection of the marginalized. Then there is good governance, integrity, transparency, accountability, and sustainable development. And for sure, for statistics to show that 46% of the country, 46%, that's a lot, are either moderately or severely food poor. That is something for us to think about and what we must do in the year 2026. Of course, we'll continue to hold power to account. And of course, Parliament, we wish you all the best in 2026 as you execute your mandate, despite the situation that you find yourselves in. We'll see you in January on the show. My name is Sam Gituku. See you then. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year 2026.